Hello? Hello? Wait, I'm not gonna show up. Boom. There, I've shown up. I am now here. Yippee! Imagine showing up to stream. Imagine. You couldn't imagine, chat. Okay. Is this the one I want? This. This should show. Okay, cool. It does show exactly what I want. Perfect. Yippee. All right, chat. As you know, we are so back. We're going to learn some more kanji today. Hopefully, it's been a week. I forgot most of the old ones, but we're just going to keep going on, and hopefully I'll review. So there's what? We're on lesson 14 out of 23. So we'll watch these, and maybe we'll do some Anki, or maybe we'll end early. I think, though, after I get all these videos done, I'm going to start doing Anki decks again. I also need to review my hiragana and katakana because I've been getting them wrong. I've been reading stuff in Japanese and I'm like, that sounds about right. And then I look it up and it's just not the right kanji or the right kana. That's really bad. And that's like stuff you do in like the first week and I just forgotten it all because I haven't been using it. It's so true. Like if you don't use a skill, you just like get bad at it. The same thing with Melee. I played some Melee the other day and I lost like every single game because I just haven't played in like 2 years. So there's that. Let's watch this. Let's
Welcome
jump
to the
in.
14th Tokini Kanji lesson.
14.
Today we're going to cover the meaning, building blocks, writing, historical
Also,
evolution.
chat, make sure to check out Tokini Andy. He makes these wonderful, 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 amazing videos. I really like his Genki, his Genki videos. He does like the Genki book. I've only done like the first like 2 or 3 videos of that, but I need to go back on that because right now my goal is to basically I want to be able to look at like a Japanese sentence that is like at least N5 level and be able to read it. That's like the most basic goal. And I want to be able to look at really any sentence and be able to at least read the hiragana and katakana. I don't want to even have understanding of it. I just want to be able to read it. Like if I was reading if I was reading like you the thing about hiragana and katakana, it's like you could actually like sound it out like the words even if you don't know the meaning. It's like if you like me saying like THE, even though I don't know what the is, like I would know how to say the. So if like I want to be able to look at a sentence and at least be able to read at like a normal pace, hiragana, katakana, even if I fully don't understand it. I think a lot of times when I read it out loud, I might not understand like the word immediately, but if I read it, like the sentence, and I have that vocab somewhere in my brain, I can then pull it back up, you know? Versus just listening. I guess listening also helps too. I need to do more listening practice as well. But I think right now kanji is the number one thing. Learning kanji, at least like this N5 level kanji, because the reason why I stopped Genki is because it immediately threw kanji at me. I didn't know any of the kanji. I was like, oh, well, that's a pain. So we gotta learn the kanji, chat.
Story to memorize each of the following kanji.
Wow.
We'll also learn the parts and radicals needed for those kanji. Today, there are 2 new parts. And stick around to the end of the lesson where we'll be doing a quick
looks kind of like a 7.
Everything stick. By the
or not
way,
7, not 9.
Comment below this video to see why we
S
are
raised
not
up instead of straight.
readings for each kanji just yet. Let's get into it. This kanji looks like an axe or blade of some sort to me.
Axe.
Or maybe a dragon's eye? But it means evening. The official
Evening.
radical of evening is evening, which you were probably able to guess at this point. We can sort of break it down into a no part, a fu part, and a dot. We write
looks
it
kind
in
of like
exactly that order. We start with the no part and attach the top of the single stroke in fu to that. The dot is drawn enclosed within those. Historically, this was
just
exactly the same as the kanji for moon. Like, they were exactly the same kanji. It wasn't until the Western Zhou dynasty, or sometime around 1045 BC to 771 BC, that these two kanji were differentiated from each other, with the one we're learning here coming to mean evening or nighttime. For our story, we'll picture a play happening on stage with our characters No and Fu. You can see No and Fu dangling on stage, taking on the role of the evening moon.
No.
Appearing as a dot within Fu, a pictograph of the moon in the evening. Remember, can be a way to express a quiet laugh in text in Japanese. Also remember that it's a good idea to pause the video after each story and really try to imagine it, or to create a story of your own that will help you remember.
He loves using this B-roll footage of like, I don't even know what it is.
Meaning and every single part in some.
Let's read this again. You can see No and Fu dangling on the stage, taking on the role of the evening moon. Fu appears as the dot within Fu, a pictograph of the moon in the evening.
Evening is clearly a part of this next very common kanji, which means name. You're going to see this one a lot, so you'll get used to it very fast. Appropriately, the official radical for this kanji is mouth. This makes sense since you call out names with your mouth, not with your evening. Whatever that is. The parts, though, are clearly evening and mouth combined. There are 6 strokes in name. We start with evening, drawing the no, followed by the fu part. We enclose the dot inside of those 2 strokes, before moving on to the 3 strokes in mouth. Vertical, upside down L, and horizontal. I find the history of this character fascinating. In fact, I don't even think you'll need a story after this. Apparently, these parts were chosen for this kanji because when it gets dark out and you run into someone, you need to call out your name to them so everyone knows who they're dealing with. Makes sense, right? Anyway, the parts have always been the same. I said we don't need a story, but I have one for you anyway. We're back on the stage for the play we learned about in the story for evening. Below the evening sky, mouth states the name of the play. Evening. As in, that's the name of the play. Mouth, as in our mouth character. He's in the play too, I guess. Or at least he's the announcer for it. Hit the like button for all of our lovely...
These stories are so bad.
Bringing us to our first part, which means spoon. Since this is just a radical, we won't be learning any radicals for it. What? Really? Understood. Fine. It's a kanji. It can be used for the word spoon, and it is its own radical. But we're not learning it as a kanji because it's literally kanken level 1, which is completely unnecessary.
Wow.
We can break this kanji down into a fishhook and curvy line if we want. I think it's fine to keep this as its only part, though. There are 2 simple strokes in spoon. We draw the curved line first, and then the fishhook-like stroke next. In calligraphy and writing, sometimes this line will cut through the first stroke. In computer fonts, it looks much more like the katakana hi. Historically, this was apparently a pictograph of a spoon, but to me it looks a lot more like a person preparing to dive into a swimming pool. Hit the subscribe button if you see that too. For our story, we're going to say that it's a pictograph of an arm holding a big spoon, which the modern form does kind of look like, although it's more of a ladle than a spoon, I guess. The first kanji we're learning that has spoon as a part
is person on the left and spoon. What could it mean, chat?
Is change, as in to change, not the change in your pocket or in your couch cushions. The official radical for change is spoon, and not the person part on the left in the hen position. Interestingly, person on the left usually means a kanji has something to do with people or things that they do. This one is actually not so much of an exception if you read the historical evolution of the character. Getting ahead of myself, though. There are 4 strokes in change. We start with person on the left, drawing the no-like stroke on top and the staff-like stroke below it. We then draw the curved stroke right to left in spoon and the hook, sometimes, through the curved stroke. I find the history of this kanji very fun. If you look at the 2 earliest forms, you might notice something interesting. The 2 sides of this kanji are mirror images, with the one on the right also upside down. These are actually both supposed to be person, with the upside down reverse of person indicating the change in position, or the change that a person can make. Super cool, right? After that, the part on the right changed so much that it took on a life of its own and became a spoon or something. For our story, we have Ando-san peeking around a corner trying to change the ingredients in spoon. Because remember, our person is always Ando-san. The next part we're going to learn is the grass radical. We learned in an earlier video that 8 horse-leg crown is technically a different form of this radical. Anyway, in Japanese, this is called kusakamuri, or grass crown. So we're staying faithful to the original here. This one is, I promise, just a radical, not a kanji. So no radical. And it is its only part. There are 3 strokes in this radical. We draw the horizontal line first, and then the 2 blades of grass through it. Historically, this appears to have evolved from this cool little guy, and it was originally simplified to have 4 strokes, basically being 2 little tens, but then was simplified even more for the Joyo standard kanji into this. For our story, we're going with a pictograph, because this one is easy. This is just grass coming out of the ground. The first kanji we'll meet that uses the grass crown is...
So this is grass coming out of the ground with change, or a person on the left in the spoon.
Is flower. Makes sense, right? The official radical is grass radical. Although I should mention that in Japanese dictionaries, it's listed as this. The parts are clearly defined as a grass radical and change. There are 7 strokes in flower. They're written exactly as we'd expect. We first write the 3 strokes in grass radical on top, since it is a crown. We then draw the 2 strokes in person on the left, and finally the spoon. Diagonal stroke first, followed by the hook part. I couldn't find any cool diagrams for how this one specifically evolved, because it's actually a fairly new creation. This is actually an abbreviated or simplified version of this kanji, which still exists. The top stayed the same, but for the bottom, they used change to indicate the Chinese reading, which is usually God, I'm loving learning about the history of all these kanji. It makes them so much easier to understand. Anyway, that original form evolved in this way. Strong ghost Pokemon vibes. Let me know if you see it down in the comments. Or let me know what stories you created for all these kanji. For this kanji, we're going with a pictographic story. A flower is just grass, you think, that changes into flowers. As in, you think or imagine that it's just grass. Obviously, it's not that simple.
A flower is just
this
grass
kanji kind of looks like trees
changes
or something.
Into a flower.
Or perhaps 2-letter T's with flair? I say trees because this kanji means bamboo. The
bamboo? Where's Nam at?
Is bamboo. We can break it down into 3 parts, though. No lying down, a staff, and a feathered broomstick. For our story, though, we're just going to be using the no lying down part for this one. There are 6 strokes in bamboo. You might expect to do the 2 no lying down parts first, as if they're a crown, but we actually separate this into a part on the left and right, and do them both separately. The first no lying down on the left comes first, followed by the staff that holds it up. Then we draw the no lying down on the right, and the feathered broomstick, this one made of bamboo, I guess, holding it up. Historically, this is said to have been a pictograph of bamboo with leaves hanging down from its branches.
It's a cool kanji, though.
Still supposed to be that. I personally see two hands reaching down from the heavens, granting the people of ancient China bamboo seed by the people from the stars. But you do you, historians. For our story, we're gonna say we've got two no lying down on top of a bamboo forest. You could go with making the stroke on the right a feathered broomstick made out of bamboo that the no lying down is on top of, indicating what can be made from bamboo, the bamboo on the left, that is. But that's up to you too. That brings us to the Lesson 14 quiz. In this section of the video, I'll show you a flashcard with the English meaning for a kanji. Pause the video when we show each card and try to remember how to write that kanji. Next, write it on your hand with your finger or on a piece of paper. Then press play and see if you were right. The best way to remember kanji you just learned is to search your memory for the story we taught you. Our first card is name.
Name is evening and mouth. Is that the evening you have to call it your name?
Next is...
I'm pretty sure that was in remembering the kanji. Flower is the grass that changes, and change is person on the left and the spoon.
Flower. Just a few more. Here.
Evening is... Let me think. It's no, foo, and then the dot.
Here's evening.
I know that's so hard to think about.
And then there's...
Bamboo is no lying down. And then the staff. And then no not lying down again. This time with the feathered broomstick.
Bamboo. Finally, we have change.
And change is person on the left plus the person changing the spoon. Hello. Hello, Chenko. The spoon was this. It's not the he. Are you learning, Bammy? I'm trying. I'm trying to learn. It's really hard. It's bad because, like, I remember, like, half of these from remembering the kanji, but then I just stopped doing remembering the kanji, and then it's been, like, a couple months, and I forgot it all. And now I'm doing it this way, and I think it's harder to remember this way. So I'm debating if I want to go back to remembering the kanji. I stopped learning Japanese. I'm learning Hungarian. No shot.
Let us know how many you got right down in the comments.
No
you can
shot.
learn the next 5 kanji by clicking here.
And now watch the next video.
Welcome to the 15th Tokini Andy kanji lesson.
I was gonna say something. Wait, Chenko, think about learning. Do you ever think that you would ever learn how to... I don't know if you have. I remember you saying that you wanted to. Would you ever try to, like, learning how to fly a plane? Like a personal plane? Do people own personal planes in Europe? Is that a thing? Little, like, small planes? I know you like planes. I know how to start an F-15 and take off and fly. What? Just not land. That's the most important part. That's the most important part. What the heck? All right, next video.
Today we're going to cover the meaning, building blocks,
Well, I
writing,
can land.
historical level.
Eventually, you'll land. Now, will you be safe when landing? That's the real question.
Where applicable.
Will the plane be okay when you land?
And a story to memorize each of the following kanji.
Wow, that's a lot of kanji. This is the one for forest. This is forest. No. Yeah, this is forest. This one is like oh, what's it called? I forgot what it's called. This looks a lot like father, but it has the little like hot lid on it. I've seen this before. I think this is. Oh, I've seen this. This is like sunflower or something, right? Jungle? No, it's different. It's oh, I forget it. It does have something to do with trees though. I can't remember the name of it. It's like a really weird word they used for it in remembering the kanji. I think this is sunflower. I forget what this one is. I think I've seen all these before. Minus
also
I think
learn the parts
this
and
one
radicals
and this
needed
one.
for those kanji.
I think
But
these
today,
two I forget.
There are no new parts. Which
No
is
new
why we're learning
parts.
6 kanji instead of the usual
6.
5. Stick around to the end of the lesson where we'll be doing a quick quiz to help everything stick. By the way, check the pinned comment below this video to see why we are not learning readings for each kanji.
We know.
And it might be early in the morning for you. So
it's not speeding that kills. It's speeding. Is this number hitting 0 in less than a second? Ah.
Let's start with something simple. The kanji for early. The official.
Oh yeah, it's early.
Is sun. See where this is going? The parts are sun and
10.
There are 6 strokes in early. We start with
Early.
the sun on top before moving down to the first
Keep
horizontal
speeding,
stroke.
chat. You've earned it. What the heck?
Off with the final vertical stroke. Historically, this was apparently
this is
a pictograph
early.
of a type of tree that was used for getting black dye. And this kanji was used to mean getting that black dye. Eventually, that changed into sunrise, perhaps indicating the change from dark to sunny. It then came to mean early. Apparently, it's also considered
I woke up early
a pictograph
today.
of a spoon. This one looks like a dude wearing a baseball cap and scooping something into a vat or something, with the bowl of the spoon out of frame. Otherwise, I'm not seeing the spoon. I see our first indications of aliens here, though. For our story, we're putting a fantasy spin on things. Someone is using a magic spell that brings a tiny sun on the end
I always
of
wake up early, lies
staff
in deceit.
to wake someone up early. What a jerk. Although, that might get me out of bed in the morning, so perhaps it isn't such a bad idea. Remember that it's a good idea to pause the video after each story and really use every single part in some way.
Wow.
Alright, now that we're getting into the weeds, here's a kanji that means...
Is it weeds? It actually is weeds, isn't it?
Weeds. Every video. No exceptions.
That's what it was.
The official radical for weeds is, appropriately,
I knew it was something flower related.
Radical crown. And the parts are grass radical and early. The kanji is written as expected, with the grass crown being written first, horizontal line, and cutting through it with 2 blades of grass. Then the sun part of early, followed by the 10 that it stands on. Historically, this kanji apparently used to mean acorn, and the bottom part was also basically the kanji early, with the earliest form of the grass kanji popping out of its head.
I must drive, family. Lots of love. If you are still alive when I'm home, I'll come bully you and call you stinky. No. Well, I want you to come back, but don't call me stinky. Have a safe drive. Don't speed, Chinko. Drive safe and make sure you know how to land your car.
Over time, it came to mean weeds, and acorn became this Kanken level 1 kanji. Remember, Kanken level
If
1
I
means
think I'm
even
speeding,
most
no.
Japanese natives can't read it. So really, this is just a point of curiosity. Nothing you need to memorize or anything. Apparently, the part early in this kanji was chosen to indicate the Chinese reading of soul. For our story, we'll say that weeds are grass. That is always the earliest plant to pop up. It's fast. It's almost as if an early to rise wizard and his 10 staff are waking the weeds up early.
Weeds or grass that is always the earliest plant to pop up. It's fast. It's almost as if an early to rise wizard and his 10 staff are waking up the weeds early.
If you want a wizard to wake you up in the morning, feel free to hit the like button. If you don't want a wizard to wake you up in the morning, that's fine too. Hit the like button.
The
Here's
AI generated
a simple
content.
kanji that means grove, or
Grove, that's what it
small
was.
Forest. The official radical
Or small forest,
is clearly tree, and it's made of 2 trees for parts. There are 8 strokes in grove. What's important to notice here is that the 4th stroke in the first tree is much shorter than the 4th stroke in the actual kanji tree. This is to make room for the tree on the right. You can imagine the branches of the tree on the left disappearing behind the tree on the right, if that helps you. Historically, this kanji has changed very little and has always had the meaning of trees lined up together. When I hear the word grove, I personally think of a circular line of trees enclosing an open space in the middle. That lining up of the trees, though, is what's important to see here. For our story, we'll have 2 trees make a grove. This is really a 2-part mnemonic with the next kanji making up the second part. While you're waiting for that to pop up, why not hit the subscribe? We'll thank you. Damn it. Yeah. Fine. They said they will not say thank you. Sorry. Here are a few more trees. Well, just one more, really. This kanji means forest.
Yep,
but
Mori.
I bet you guessed that already. The official radical here is no
Calliope
surprise. It's
Mori.
Just kidding. Tree. And it's made up of 3 trees, which goes without saying. There are 12 strokes in forest. The top tree is written pretty much identically to the kanji for tree, though it's a little stumpier. The lower 2 trees are written like a stumpy grove. Each tree, of course, is written in isolation one at a time before moving on to any parts in the next tree. Remember to keep the 8th stroke, or the final stroke in the second tree, shorter to make room for the tree on the right, just like in grove. This kanji is historically consistent with grove in that it was always 3 trees and indicated a meaning of forest or an area with lots of plant growth. So for our story, we'll continue from 2 trees make a grove to 3 trees make a forest. I always enjoy all the mingling that Yuki and I get to do with you in the chat during the live streams, which happens after the premiere for these videos. We don't get a chance to mingle much. Mingle. This mingle. The official radical for mingle is potlid. We haven't seen that guy in a while.
The
parts are potlid and father. There are 6 strokes in mingle. We start with the handle of potlid.
It's kind of like a bond.
The lid itself. We then draw the crowning 8 of father below the lid, followed by the grass clippers down below that. Historically, the appearance of this kanji hasn't changed much, but some explanations state that it was a pictograph of someone crossing their legs based on how the bottom part of the kanji looks. Specifically, they cross their legs below the knees to the ankle somewhere. More recent academics refute this claim and think the bottom part was actually the kanji for disability, which eventually became the kanji for yellow. I'm not sure which is true, but you could just mingle all of them together so that you don't forget that this kanji means mingle. It's also interesting to me how little we actually know for certain about the ancient past. We're going to have a little fun with this story. To become a member of the Fathers of the Potlid Society, which is a society of fathers just mingling, you must wear a potlid on your head to the meetings. And be a father, of course. Please feel free to share any stories you've made for the kanji in this video down in the comments. It may help someone who this story did not help. We've seen a lot of trees today, so we might as well continue the trend with...
So this is tree and mingle.
School, whose official radical is tree. The parts are tree and mingle. There are 10 strokes in school. We start with the tree on the left, being sure to make the 4th stroke quite a bit shorter than the kanji for tree, so that mingle can fit on the right. This is going to be a trend for when tree shows up in the hen position, or on the left position, if you haven't noticed yet. We then draw mingle on the right, potlid first, followed by father beneath. Historically, this has always been a combination of the same parts, with mingle indicating the Chinese reading of ko. With that said, it interestingly used to mean bonds or shackles.
Bonds.
Like some kid getting shackled to school. Or perhaps prophesying how future schools would look a lot like prisons.
Monka.
Anyway, it was eventually borrowed to mean compare and learn when in words like school. For our story, we're continuing the story from mingle. A school in the trees is where the fathers mingle. After school hours, of course. Which brings us to the Lesson 15 quiz.
Let's do it.
In this section of the video, I'll show you a flashcard with the English meaning for a kanji. Pause the video when we show each card and try to remember how to write that kanji. Next, write it on your hand with your finger or on a piece of paper. Then press play and see if you were right. The best way to remember kanji...
Oh, that was the kanji for, This is the kanji, we just learned this. This is, for bamboo.
Press play and see if you were right. The best way to remember kanji you just learned is to search your memory for the story we taught you, or the one you made based on the English word on the flashcard. Our first card is...
mingle, which is the potlid. Around the potlid you go meet your father. Boom, boom.
Mingle. Next.
And father is like 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 fathers want grass clippers. Weeds. Weeds are always the earliest to... they're the earliest grass to rise. Earliest sun and 10.
Is weeds.
Yippee.
Just a few more. Here's
early is sun and 10.
early.
Yippee.
And then there's...
and then school is tree. And then the mingling of fathers.
School.
Yippee.
Next, there's...
forest is 3 trees. Takes 3 trees to make a forest. Boom. Boom.
forest.
And the last one's gonna be grove.
Finally, we have...
It's 2 trees to make a grove.
grove.
Yippee!
Let us know how many you got right down in the comments. You can learn the next 5 Welcome to the 16th Tokiniandi Kanji lesson. Today we're going to cover the meaning, building blocks, writing,
Number
historical
16.
evolution where applicable, and a story to memorize each of the following kanji. We'll also learn the parts and radicals needed for those kanji.
Oh, this is like speaking, right? Or chanting, I think it is. I think it's chanting, right? Or something like that. This is 5 mouth. Oh, I think, no, this is chanting, right? Like speaking, chanting.
Today there's only one new
I
part,
don't know, the
and
ones.
stick around to the end of the lesson where we'll be doing a quick quiz to help everything.
That's what you see in
check the
Nihongo.
pinned comment below this video to see why we are not learning readings for each kanji just yet. Let's get into it.
It might be language then.
We haven't covered any words yet in this series.
This is word. That's what it is.
We still have a few more videos to cover before words. But our first kanji for today means word. Word is its own official radical, but we can break it down into 3 parts. Well, 2 parts if we're looking at computer fonts, and 3 if we're looking at the written form. For written form, it's a dot with a few ones and a mouth. Many computer fonts have an extra 1 on top instead of a dot. Since the written form of word has a dot on top, we start there and then draw the 3 horizontal strokes beneath it. It should be noted that the first horizontal stroke is the longest of the 3, with the ones below it written the same length as each other, for the most part.
Yippee,
finally, we draw
word.
the 3 strokes in mouth, finishing this one off. Historically, this was the kanji for tongue combined with a single 1. We could imagine this as one thing that rolls off the tongue is a word, though this was not explicitly stated as why these were the parts in any of the explanations I read. It eventually evolved into its current form to better differentiate it from the kanji for tongue, which we'll learn in another video. For our story, we're going to go with a teleprompter is above mouth, and mouth says all the words that come down the teleprompter. A teleprompter, for those of you who don't know, is a piece of glass placed in front of a camera from which you mirror.
He has a teleprompter? That's messed up.
You often see politicians use
Wait, why don't I have a
speeches,
teleprompter?
and many YouTubers use them as well. Remember that it's a good idea.
I didn't know he uses a
to pause the
teleprompter.
video
That's
after each
crazy.
story and really try to imagine it, or to create a story of your own that will help you remember the kanji even better. Make sure the story contains the meaning and every single part.
That would be so helpful for making videos.
Speaking of words,
I'm sure there's like a program you could just use instead, right?
They're usually part of a language.
Language.
Which is what this kanji means. Language. The official radical for language is appropriately word. We can break it down into 3 parts though. Word, 5, and mouth. There are 14 strokes in language, making it by far the most stroke-heavy kanji we've covered to date. With that said, the parts are very well defined, and I don't expect you'll have much trouble with them. We start by writing word on the left. When word is in the hen or on the left position, it's usually written thinner than usual to make room for the parts on the right. In writing, the first stroke on top of word will usually be a drop, though this might not be the case in computer fonts. Anyway, we then move on to the 4 strokes
I like how this kanji
5
looks.
and write another mouth part right below that. Despite having so many strokes, this kanji has very well-defined parts that are relatively easy to keep distinct from one another. Hopefully, you'll be able to get this one down in no time. Historically, the parts for this have not changed. It appears that the word part on the left is used to give the kanji meaning, as parts on the left often do. 5 over mouth hints at the Chinese reading of go, as parts on the right often do. Indicate reading, not specifically the reading of go. For our story, a lot of mouth characters are coming out to play. A language is words coming out of 5 mouths, represented by 5 other mouths saying words. It's the words that are the language. Finding the language in this video easy enough to follow? Hit the like button if so. We won't be getting away from the word on the left just yet, and the story for this one will be similar to the one in language. That's because this kanji means story. The official radical for story is word, which is likely not a surprise. The parts can be broken down into word, thousand, and mouth. There are 13 strokes in story, making it just slightly less stroke heavy than language. Just like language though, this one is also fairly straightforward. We draw word on the left, making sure to keep it thin. As with language, in writing, the first stroke on top of word will usually be a drop, though this might not be the case in computer fonts. We then draw thousand on the right, with the no radical stroke followed by the horizontal one and the staff through it, making sure to keep the whole part in the upper right quadrant for the most part. We then draw the mouth part below thousand and usually connected to it. Historically, this was always word on the left and a mouth on the bottom part of the right, but it used to be this part above mouth, which on its own can mean surname or family name. For our story for story, we'll say, talking is made up of thousands of words, and stories are when the same words are said between thousands of mouths. Please share your own story.
Whoa, that's a crazy story. Talking is made of thousands of words, and stories are when those same words are said between thousands of mouths.
Between thousands of mouths. Please share your own stories for this lesson down in the comments. It might help someone who the stories in this video did not help. That brings us to our first and only part for this lesson. This one is very easy to confuse with soil or dirt, but you'll notice that this kanji has a much longer first stroke. That makes it special. By the way, this kanji means specialist. Unfortunately, specialist is a kanji as well, though we won't be learning it for a while after. It is its own official radical, though. It can also be considered its only part. There are only 3 strokes in specialist, which are essentially the same as those in dirt, except that the first horizontal stroke in specialist is much longer, and must at least be longer than the third stroke, which is the horizontal one on the bottom. This kanji was apparently supposed to be a pictograph of a broadaxe. Apparently, the blade part is the bottom horizontal stroke, with the handle being the first horizontal stroke. I kind of think this one, taught to kids in old Japanese class, looks like a fantasy or Monster Hunter style broadaxe. Handle straight in the air, blades on either side resting in the dirt below, with the handle of the axe leaning on the hunter or something. For our story, we're going with pictograph of a broadaxe like this one. It takes a specialist to use a broadaxe like this. I know it probably seems like we just learned this fully as a kanji, and we kinda did, but when I say we're only learning it as a part, it's because we will not be covering any words with this kanji in it when we start learning words within sentences in a few videos. That's true for any kanji that we only learn as parts. Make sure to get subscribed so that you don't miss when we actually start teaching those. Did I sell you on that? Well, it doesn't really matter, because this kanji means cell. The official radical for cell is specialist. We can break it down into specialist, hat, and person's legs. There are 7 strokes in cell. We start with the specialist, kind of smushed together on top, and then draw the hat just below it, the full width of the kanji. There are no left and right parts for this one. We then draw person's legs under the hat. Generally speaking, the legs will probably not be connected to the hat, though in some fonts or styles, it may appear that they're connected. Apparently, this kanji used to have the kanji for bai in the lower part, instead of hat and person's legs. That's likely the part that indicated the meaning. The version we are learning was adopted as an abbreviation for that, and is the one used in modern Japanese. So it kinda lost that hint of meaning in the parts. But it is very common, so you'll get used to it fast, I think. For our story, we're going to say that a specialist can sell anything, even a pair of sexy legs with a hat on, especially if he's wielding a broadaxe.
A specialist can sell anything, even a pair of sexy legs with a hat on it.
You may remember that in our story for hat, we said that anything connected to the top of the hat changed the special power that it gave you. So you could also use a story like this. This hat gives the hat wearer the skills of a specialist, which makes it easier for them to sell stuff. Which do you prefer?
Huh.
When you can read this kanji, and you read it in a word, that word will likely have something to do with reading. Because this kanji means
reading.
Read. The official radical for read is
Let's
word,
go.
bringing us full circle on this lesson. The parts are word and cell. The kanji for read has 14 strokes, meaning we have the 2 highest stroke order counts to date in the same lesson. You can be angry if you want. We start by writing the 7 strokes in the word on the left part, followed by the specialist, hat, and person's leg parts from cell. It will likely take you a while to really get the balance down for this kanji, but it'll be excellent practice.
Wow.
Make sure to keep the person's legs separate from the hat part for the most part. Notice that the left leg and person's leg usually sweeps down under the mouth from the word part of it. Historically, the part on the right of this kanji was not cell, nor was it the old version of cell. Instead, there was a 4 thrown in there. Regardless, those parts were chosen for their Chinese reading at the time, not for any special meaning, apparently. And I don't think it will help you memorize this one very much anyway. I'm personally happy they simplified it. For our story, we'll go with salesmen take the words people say and sell them for people to read. As in a book. They sell books. But I can't say that because it would ruin our first kanji for next week. Which brings us to the Lesson 16 quiz. In this section of the video, I'll show you a flashcard with the English meaning for a kanji. Pause the video when we show each card and try to remember how to write that kanji. Next, write it on your hand with your finger or on a piece of paper. Then press play and see if you were right. The best way to remember kanji you just learned is to search your memory for the story we taught you, or the one you made based on the English word on the flashcard. Our first card is sell.
Sell. It's specialist. And then it's the hat. And then the legs, human legs. Is that right? Yeah.
Next is
word. Word is just the original one, right? It's just boop, boop, boop. So the teleprompter
is word.
The mouth. Yeah.
Just a few more. Here's.
And then story is when 1,000 words. 1,000 words. Said to 1,000 mouths. When words are said 1,000 times through mouths. So 1,000 is. What was the story for 1,000 again? I forget my story for 1,000. Got my story for 1,000. What the heck? I wrote it right, but I just forgot the. How 1,000 supposed to be. Language. Language is when there are five words said by 5 different mouths.
Language.
Language is a cool kanji.
Finally, we
then read. This is making people go read stuff. The specialist can make anyone read something. And then specialists. And then it's what was specialist again? It was the hat. Oh, it's the Saladin one that can read anything. That's what it is.
Read. Let us know how many you got
Boom.
right down in the comments. You can learn the next 5 kanji by clicking here. If
Next
the
lesson.
video is already out. Welcome to the 17th Tokiniandi Kanji lesson.
17th.
Today we're going to cover the meaning, building blocks, writing, historical evolution where applicable, and a story to memorize each of the following kanji. We'll also learn the parts and radicals needed for those kanji.
Wow.
Today, there are 3 new parts.
I remember seeing this before. I forgot what it was, though.
And stick around to the end of the lesson where we'll be doing a quick quiz to help everything stick. By the way, check the pinned comment below this video to see why we are not. You may notice the tree in this kanji. Well, that extra line there represents the roots of a tree, which means that this kanji is often used to indicate something's origin or source.
Oh.
It's also the second kanji used in the name of Japan. The first word you'll likely learn that uses this kanji, though, and this kanji alone, is book.
Yep, book.
I mean, books are also made from trees,
Yep.
so that kind of makes sense, I guess. Books can also be considered a source of knowledge, so I think that works out well too. The official radical for book is tree. But we can break it down into a tree and a 1. There are 5 strokes in book. We first draw the tree in exactly the way you would normally. Horizontal stroke first, followed by the vertical staff stroke, then the branches hanging down.
Yippee. So quiet. Why is it so quiet?
Finally, we cut through the trunk of the tree with the horizontal 1, representing the roots. This was always a pictograph of a tree with an extra stroke or 2 added to represent the roots.
The roots.
I don't know what kind of tree this one is, but I'd sure like to see one on whatever planet it comes from. We're going to use the story from a fluorescent worm in the ground. A tree springs up, the origin of all trees. And from that tree hang books, the origin of our knowledge. Remember that it's a good idea to pause the video after each story and really try to imagine it, or to create a story of your own that will help you remember the kanji even better. Make sure the story contains the meaning and every single part in some way. This kanji shows up in lots of words that have to do with culture, writing, and the like. So we went with the meaning of literary arts.
Literary
the official
arts.
radical for literary arts is literary arts. Big surprise there, I'm sure. The parts can be broken down into a pot lid and grass clippers. There are 4 strokes in literary arts. We start with the 2 strokes in pot lid.
It's kind of like Mingle.
And then write the normal and backwards no characters beneath. In some fonts, the final stroke is not connected to the pot lid above, but in writing it often is. Make sure to sort of sweep out the ends of each no stroke at the end. If I had better researched the history before choosing the name for this kanji, I likely would have chosen the name decoration, as that's historically what this character represented. I've seen explanations that it's a pictograph of someone with tattoos, or the color of the clothes someone is wearing. It's clearly a fancy person with something unique on their body, whether tattoos or clothes, as this person is quite different from the other historical representations we've seen of people so far. As a quick note, while I did do some historical research before choosing names for this N5 series, I'm doing way more of it before choosing names for the N4 series right now. So hopefully this little issue won't happen again. To memorize this one, we're going with the story. The literary arts can make anything sound artistic. Put a pot lid on some grass clippers, and you've got yourself a literary masterpiece. You can see here a book about pot-lid wearing grass clippers. Please share any stories you made for the kanji in this video in the comments. It might help someone who our stories did not help. Can't imagine that. That brings us to our first part for today, which
the
is
crazy
the
part.
brush radical.
The brush radical.
It is its own official radical, but this is really only used as a radical and not a kanji on its own in modern Japanese. So we're not worrying about that today. It can technically be broken down into 3 parts. One that looks like a yo.
I remember this being really fun to.
An N4, a 2, and a staff.
Mm-hmm.
But this is actually easier to learn as a pictograph, so we're going to use itself as a single part today. There are 6 strokes in brush radical.
It's so fun to write.
Start with drawing the 3 strokes in what looks a lot like the katakana yo, except for the fact that the second stroke cuts through the first upside down and backwards L stroke, and also starts further out to the left than the first stroke. After finishing up on
just
the
a
yo
line,
part, we draw 2 beneath it. We then cut through everything with a vertical staff stroke. Historically, this was always a pictograph of a hand holding a brush, with the yo part representing the hand and the rest of the strokes representing a brush. As usual, the older versions were more clearly pictographic, and the aliens only had 3 fingers. For our story, we're going with a pictograph of a hand holding a calligraphy brush. The bristles made of 2 fluorescent worms. Speaking of brushes, hit the like button if you enjoy all the calligraphy that Yuki has worked so hard on for this series. According to my trusty kanji list that I created, we have one more part before we can move on to the next kanji. It means according to.
According to.
You may notice that this looks
a lot
awful lot like sun.
Yeah.
But it's not sun.
But
the one in the middle does not connect to the other side of the mouth, which is the only way you can really tell the difference.
That's crazy.
It is its own official radical, though we're just learning it as a part, since this is a
according
level 1 kanji, so we don't really need to worry about that. We can break it down into a mouth and a 1, though. There are 4 strokes in according to, which are exactly the same as those in sun, except that the third stroke, which is a vertical 1, stops short before reaching the other side of the mouth. Some versions of this, especially in font, are written bigger than sun to make it a little more obvious that they're different. At least that's why I think they're bigger. I should mention, though, that when this is a part in other kanji, it's often
baby ducks, real viewer.
So
I will hydrate.
That's exciting, isn't it? Historically, this has always been a pictograph of a mouth. Some explanations say that the one inside.
We're learning some kanji today.
It's always had a meaning of speak, but to avoid confusing it with the
I'm about to fall asleep.
Say,
I'm so tired, so eepy.
According to, which is one of the few common words that this is still used in. The old versions look more like a
Chinese. My only weakness is actually Japanese, but I guess it is the Chinese characters.
But this line that keeps moving around on top,
but yeah,
is the tongue, I guess, or maybe a mustache.
I woke up early, so I'm super eepy.
We're going with according to mouth 1. When mouth 2 says something, you can see that its tongue is actually a
Japanese
fluorescent worm.
Nihongo.
I hope that you wrote everything down that we
covered. 今日は日本語は no 日本語 something 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 勉強imasu. I forgot. I've got all the connecting particles. I'm so
far today.
What is this?
Or at
brush?
Least tried to write some of the kanji. I mean, you don't really have to, but this kanji means right.
Right.
The official radical of right is brush.
Right.
Hello? Really?
2.
You're right. Correction. The official radical is according to.
According to.
Missed opportunity, eh? The parts are brush and according to, though. There are 10 strokes in right. We start by writing the brush radical. Remember that the second stroke in the part that represents the hand holding the brush is much longer than the outer fingers and cuts through the right side. I guess that part represents the arm or something. After
The
writing the
breast
two below
radical
this
is so cool
part, we then
looking.
cut the vertical staff stroke down through everything, but we do not cut through the bottom this time.
Yep.
When brush radical is used as an upper part in a kanji, the final stroke does
See,
not
they
cut
completed
through
it though.
the bottom, so make sure to stop at the final horizontal stroke. We then draw what looks exactly like sun beneath this part, but is actually according to.
That's messed up.
Well, sort of. Historically, this was a pictograph of a brush writing something down, just like it is now.
Ah.
The lower part was apparently this full kanji that we'll learn later, and it was eventually simplified into just according to, despite that being an entirely different kanji. We can clearly see the modern form appearing around 500 years ago during the Ming Dynasty. To memorize this one, we're going with the following story. The brush writes down things according to others. Like quotes or something. Right over here, we have a kanji that means right. The official radical for right is mouth for some reason.
I remember
Perhaps
this.
because it's sort of to the right of the other part? It's a little odd to me, though, because the parts are left hand and mouth.
Yeah.
Though, historically, the parts were right hand, or what we learned as again, and mouth. All the more reason for me to expect this to be the official radical. But it is what it is. There are 5 strokes in right. Normally, the left hand part is written horizontal stroke, followed by the no
it's
part.
reversed.
But for the kanji right, it's written no part first and horizontal one part second.
That's weird. Why?
This can be confusing for some, but I like to think start on the right at the top of the no part for the kanji right, and start on the left, or the horizontal stroke, for the kanji left. But that's our next kanji, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, we'll get into why the stroke order is different for left and right in a moment. After we finish the left hand overhang part on the top, we draw the mouth part underneath and sometimes connected to the no part, though in official diagrams this is not the case. They often appear to be connected in computer fonts, though. Originally, right was the kanji we learned as again, and just that part. You may remember my rant about how it may have actually made sense to learn that kanji part as right hand. Well, that's because originally it was the kanji for right. Around 2,700 years ago, during the Western Zhou dynasty, a mouth was added for some reason, and we got something closer to the modern form. I found explanations stating that this indicated showing someone support with words, which meant this character also had a meaning of to help. And another explanation suggested this was a pictograph of covering one's mouth with their right hand. I like the historical version for one reason only. The image is much clearer in its meaning of right, because it looks like a right hand on the right side of mouth. For our story, we're using the modern part names we learned and saying, my left-hand man is here. But since this is the kanji for right, we start on the right and draw no first. The right side of the brain is colloquially known to deal with creativity, so perhaps it's responsible for talking through the mouth.
Talking through the mouth.
Sure. Our final part for today is quite simple in its construction. It means construction.
Construction, I remember this.
Construction is its own radical. Of course, we're just learning this as a radical, so don't worry about that too much. We'll also consider it its only part. There are 3 strokes in construction. We start with the horizontal stroke on top, draw a vertical stroke from right around the middle of the first stroke, and then draw the horizontal stroke connected to that vertical stroke below. Keep in mind that while in computer font this final stroke looks to be identical in length to the first stroke, In writing, this one is supposed to be a bit longer. Though apparently the origin of this kanji is not fully known, some explanations suggest that it's the image of 2 sheets of wood with holes cut in the middle and a peg stuck through them. I can see that in most of these, but apparently this peg has wings? And this one, good luck getting that peg through any holes. What it looks like to me, though, is an I-beam. So our story is, this is an I-beam, an extremely important part of construction. Here on the left, we see our next kanji, the only one left. It means left, but not the second left I said. The first left I said. Huh? Anyway, the official radical for left is construction, and the parts are left hand and construction. There are 5 strokes in left. We draw the left-hand part in its standard order. And this really is the left-hand part, both now and historically. We start from the left on the first horizontal stroke, and then draw the no part through it. That part overhangs or encloses the 3 strokes in the construction part beneath it. The original kanji for left was apparently just the top part of the modern kanji, which we learned as left hand. And construction was added later as a part without adding any meaning to the kanji as a whole, just like the kanji for right, actually. Another explanation I read suggested that the kanji was an ideograph representing using the left hand to hold a peg or tool of some sort that you're working with. If we look at the kanji for right and left together, though, it honestly looks like both the mouth part in right and this construction part in the left were just added so that they could put the hand part on either the right or left side of that meaningless part. For our story, we're going with, since this is left, our left-hand man can be drawn normally. Since the left side of the brain is more logical and analytical, it's clearly more fit for engineering and construction. Thus, the I-beam. The only thing left for me to say is, make sure to get subscribed. The button should be down there.
Oh no, Kirju's coming for me.
At least in January of 2024. Over there? Over there? I can't remember. Which brings us to the Lesson 17 quiz. In this section of the video, I'll show you a flashcard with the
cheap viewers.
A kanji. Pause the video when we show each card and try to remember how to write that kanji. Next, write it on your hand with your finger or on a piece of paper. Then press play and see if you were right. The best way to remember kanji you just learned is to search your memory for the story we taught you or the one you made based on the English word on the flashcard. Our first card is book.
The book. The origin. The trees. Pointing to the roots of the tree. Wow.
Next is left.
Left. Written normally. Made for construction. Hence the I-beam.
Just a few more. Here's
right. Written right to left because it's the right. And since it's more brain creativity, you get a mouth.
Right. And then there's literary arts.
Literary arts is anything can be literary arts as long as you have a pot lid and some grass clippers.
Finally, we have
right, which is brush, which is the hand holding, or there's the 2 fluorescent worms holding to the brush. And then right is it mouth? No, it's according to, which is just like sun.
Right.
According to used to be hard to remember.
Let us know how many you got right
down
in the comments. You can learn the next 5 kanji by
Next
clicking
5 kanji.
here. Welcome to the 18th Tokiniani
18th.
kanji lesson. Today we're going to cover the meaning, building blocks, writing, historical evolution where applicable, and a story to memorize each of the following kanji. We'll also learn the parts and radicals needed for those kanji. Today, there are no new parts. But stick around to the end of the lesson where we'll be doing a quick quiz to help everything stick.
Quiz.
By the way, check the pinned comment below this video to see why we are not learning readings for each kanji just yet. Standing over here on my left is a kanji that means stand. Not left because we already covered that. Off to a good start. Let's go. The official radical of stand is itself, stand. Going by stroke order though, we can break it down into the parts potlid and 8 horse leg crown, if we were so inclined. I prefer to think of it as a single pictographic part. We'll have stories for each at the end of this section though. There are 5 strokes in stand. We start with the 2 strokes in potlid, dot on top, followed by the horizontal 1 stroke. We then draw the strokes below it exactly like 8 horse leg crown, except that the legs of the upside down horse are longer than usual. To me, the finished product always looked kind of like a big ceramic vase standing in the corner of a fancy rich person's house or something. Anyway, as if there aren't enough pictographs of people just standing there in the world of ancient kanji,
standing
here
menacingly.
is yet another. A pictograph of a person standing on the ground. I don't even think this one needs an explanation or story, but we made one anyway. It turns out the parts we chose seem to have no historical basis, and the real parts were originally big and 1. But there are already quite a few kanji with big and 1 as parts, and this does not have that stroke order. Instead, it's much more along the lines of the parts that we chose. So for our stories, we went with, we stand a potlid on the upside down horse, because it can't stand.
We
As
stand
in,
a
the
pot
horse
leg
can't stand. So we're being
on the
jerks by
upside down.
putting a potlid on its upturned legs and
on a dead
laughing
horse.
at it, I guess. Or we could say, pictograph of a person trying to stand on the ground. This weird guy. Remember that it's a good idea to pause the video after each story and really try to
stand on the
imagine
ground,
it. Or to create a story of your own that will help you and sound. I think it's our 89th kanji, which means
89th.
sound. Sound is its own official radical, but we can break it down into the parts stand and day. Well, actually, I found out just the other day that this may technically be according to on the bottom.
Oh, is it?
But I'm not 100% sure, so I'm sticking with the original story I wrote before I found that out. There are 9 strokes in sound. We start with stand on top. I guess it's appropriate that it's standing on top. Puns aside, remember to keep the 5 strokes in stand sort of scrunched together on top of the kanji.
Oh.
We then go ahead and draw the sun beneath.
And then the sun beneath.
The historical form
standing
of
on
this
the
kanji
sun,
is
you can hear the sound
word, except that there was usually an extra line or two added to this one to differentiate the two. As a whole, it was an ideograph of word above mouth, indicating the things that come out of one's mouth, i.e. sounds. The current top part is stand, which is apparently an abbreviation of word in this case. And the bottom is supposedly according to, as opposed to day, which is appropriate for indicating the meaning of sound as well, I guess. On a side note, the earliest form of this kanji looks a lot like a happy robot. I feel like I've seen this guy somewhere. For our story, we're going with, if you stand on the sun, you can't help but make a lot of sound. Poor guy.
You stand in the sun.
If you don't like the sound of that, make sure to hit the like button. The stand guy uses likes as fuel to get him off the sun. When we originally planned this series, this kanji was only supposed to be a part, because this is a very common enclosure for other kanji. We were then going to teach it as a kanji in N4. But for some reason, when we ran out of the gate at the actual start of this series, we forgot about that plan. It somehow found a way to slip through the gate and into the video series as a kanji.
It's a gate.
So we won't be learning any
It's like
words
Uma
for it
Musume
until N4. Well, maybe I'll sneak in one word. That one word could be gate. How do you say gate in Japanese? Mom. It's a gate, mom. I can't pull it off. The official radical of gate is mom. We can break it down into a staff, sun, and feathered broomstick if we're so inclined, but I think this works fine as its only part. You can use those in your own story if you like, though. There are 8 strokes in gate. We start with the first vertical staff stroke on the left. We then draw the upside down and backwards L stroke, like the one in mouth or sun. But this one stops in the top half of the kanji. Next, we draw the horizontal stroke in the middle of sun and close it in on the bottom. We then move over to the part on the right. I have a really hard time making these next few strokes look right, but we start with the small vertical stroke in the sun part on this side. It should be roughly the same height as the sun on the left. We then draw the top horizontal stroke and the feathered broomstick stroke as a single stroke, indicating that it really isn't feathered broomstick. Make sure to sweep this stroke in towards the middle. Finally, we add the last 2 horizontal strokes in this little sun. The historical version of this kanji is exactly how I imagined the story for it, which I actually wrote before looking at the historical forms. They look exactly like 2 Wild West saloon doors. Explanations describe them as just 2 doors facing each other, or next to each other. But I can't unsee what I've seen. Our story for this one is, just like I said, a pictograph of a gate. Think Wild West saloon doors. You see that sun in between the doors on the gate kanji we just learned? Well, between is a meaning of this kanji, but because the only N5 words with this kanji in them have to do with time, we went with its other meaning, span of time. The official radical of span of time is gate, and the parts we've already said, gate and sun. There are 11 strokes in span of time. The struggles on this one are the same as those in gate, for me at least, balancing the part on the right with the one on the left. But anyway, we draw the first door on the left. You might then be tempted to draw the sun in the middle, but because enclosures on top of other parts are usually written first, we actually draw the door on the right next. Finally, we draw a fully fledged sun down beneath the saloon doors in gate, or perhaps inside of them, or between them. The original form of this kanji had moon inside the gate instead of sun. It represented seeing the moon through a gate at night, or between the crack in the open doors, and had a meaning of looking out from between something, originally. For our story, we're going with a scientist measures spans of time by watching the sun move through the opening in the saloon gate. If you're enjoying your span of time here, make sure to get subscribed. There's going to be a lot more videos just like this one over the coming years. It's going to be years, isn't it? Listen, I know you're probably tired of listening to my stupid voice and my stupid puns by now, but there's only a little bit left to listen to in this lesson. Because this last kanji means listen.
Listen.
Probably the last pun I'm allowed to do today. Well, that's fine because it's the last kanji anyway. The official radical of listen is ear. Logical enough. The parts are clearly a gate and ear. There are 14 strokes in listen. Just like in the kanji span of time, we write the entirety of the gate enclosure first. Left side, followed by right.
Here's a hard one for me to remember.
We then draw the ear inside the gate. Remember that even though the kanji for ear looks a lot like the kanji for eye, the stroke order is quite different. We start with the horizontal line on top, followed by the vertical stroke on the left. We then draw the two strokes inside the ear, followed by the enclosing bottom stroke, which we draw at a slight upward angle left to right. We then draw the final vertical stroke cutting down through the final horizontal stroke, but usually staying within the gate, or stopping on the same plane as the final sweeping stroking gate. Most explanations of the historical form of this kanji state that the ear part indicates the meaning, and the gate just indicates the Chinese reading. But one dictionary matched the story I wrote almost exactly. And I wrote the story before even buying said dictionary. It states that the kanji listen represented hiding by a gate, and, although you couldn't see inside, listening to what was happening. For some reason, the earliest form looks like a lemming from that game Lemmings.
Like using your ear inside the gate,
perhaps with its ear
you are able to hear things. You're able to listen to things.
What a game that was.
From the inside.
Wow. So yeah, our story is very similar to the description in that dictionary. A scientist listens to the sounds coming from the saloon gate. I guess a scientist because I imagine they don't spend a whole lot of time in saloons, but are curious about what goes on in them? I'll have to ask past Andy about that sometime. It could just be because scientist was in the story from the last kanji. But anyway, please share any stories you made for the kanji in this video down in the comments. It might help someone who our stories did not help.
Quiz.
Which brings us to the Lesson 18 quiz. In this section of the video, I'll show you a flashcard with the English meaning for a kanji. Pause the video when we show each card and try to remember how to write that kanji. Next, write it on your hand with your finger or on a piece of paper. Then press play and see if you were right. The best way to remember kanji you just learned is to search your memory for the story we taught you, or the one you made based on the English word on the flashcard. Our first card is stand.
Stand. That's the pot lid. The horse legs. The dead horse.
Next is listen.
Listen is the gate, which is the line in the sun, and then the feathered broomstick, sun, and then ear, which is written almost like an E, and a line going up and through everything, extending past it. Not through everything, but through the other stroke.
Here's span of
span of time is the scientist looking through the gate. To measure the sun.
Time.
Looking at the sun through the gate to measure the span of time.
And then there's sound.
Wait, did I do that wrong? Wait. Listen. Yeah. Oh, sound is the person standing on the sun. Horse legs. And then the sun. That's I. Oops. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop. Easy.
Finally, we have gate.
Gate. We've written gate 3 times.
Let us know how many you got right down in the comments. See what I did there? Stand and listen for a span of time to the sound at the gate. You can learn the next 5 kanji by clicking
Next video.
Welcome to the 19th Tokini Andy kanji lesson. Today we're going to cover the meaning, building blocks, writing, historical evolution where applicable,
Wow.
and a story to memorize each of the following kanji. We'll also learn the parts and radicals needed for those kanji. Today, there are 2 new parts. And stick around to the end of the lesson where we'll be doing a quick quiz to help everything stick. By the way, check the pinned comment below this video to see why we are not learning readings for each kanji just yet. Let's get into it. I hope you had your morning coffee or tea and are feeling alive today, because the first kanji we're going to cover means life.
Life.
And honestly, it can also mean alive, so puns are live.
I'm live.
The official radical for life is, unsurprisingly, life. But we can break it down into no lying down and dirt or soil.
Ah.
There are 5 strokes in life, and they aren't quite what you'd expect from the parts. In fact, they're similar to the next part we're going to learn. If you find this order confusing, it may be a good idea to change the parts that we've chosen to no radical, dirt, and a 1, as that is closer to the correct stroke order. Or you may want to make our next part one of this kanji's parts. It's up to you, really. But we start with no lying down.
Yep.
Then draw the vertical stroke in dirt, which is usually the second stroke in dirt. We then draw the next smaller horizontal line through the vertical staff and finish it off with the final stroke on the bottom, which should be the longest of them all.
Wait, isn't the next one like a graveyard or something?
Originally, this was actually a pictograph of a
I think I remember this in remembering the kanji.
Sprouting up out of the ground, which is another meaning of this kanji. Birth, life, sprouting, all of these were expressed by this pictograph. For our first story today, we're going with no lying down on the grave coming out of the dirt, which is covered in living vines and plants which have grown up out of the ground. Remember that it's a good idea to pause.
Yes.
It is an officially recognized kanji is a single part in some way.
Right.
Though our first part for today is not a full-on radical, it is an officially recognized common part. It's just a building block that doesn't add any particular meaning to the kanji that it's in. In Japanese dictionaries, it's listed as blue's crown because it's one of the main parts in the kanji for blue. So we're going to stick with that name. Blue's crown. Not to be confused with Blue's Clues. Hey, long time no speak. Aliens. We're gonna get sued? I have to delete that reference?
No.
Fine. Okay, guys, that reference is definitely deleted. You have no memory of it happening. This is just a part and not a radical, so it has no radical. But it can be broken down into dirt or soil and 1. There are 4 strokes in Blue's crown. Because of the way they're ordered, we can consider the first 2 strokes to be the ones in dirt. Horizontal stroke on top, followed by the vertical staff stroke. We then draw a shorter 1 through the middle, and finish it off with the longest horizontal stroke at the base. Remember though, this is usually going to be a crown part, so all of that needs to be scrunched up at the top of the box you use to write kanji. I couldn't find any useful history on this part beyond the fact that it's made from dirt and 1, and it's called Blue's crown, despite it showing up as a crown in quite a few other kanji. I guess blue's the most popular one. So on to the story we go. A fluorescent worm placed above the gravestone in the dirt shines a blue light, like a crown of blue.
Huh.
Speaking of a blue crown, here's blue. The official radical of blue is itself.
Whoa.
I'm blue, abba-dee, abba-die, abba-dee, abba-da. Cut. The parts are quite clearly blue's crown and the moon. There are 8 strokes in blue. We start with the horizontal stroke on top, followed by the vertical staff stroke. We then draw the shorter horizontal stroke through the middle and finish it off with the longest horizontal stroke at the base. Remember to keep this scrunched up at the top of the kanji.
Did not do that.
We then draw moon down below, vertical stroke, followed by a stroke very similar to the 6th stroke in gate. Finally, we add the final 2 strokes within the moon. Historically, this kanji was built from the first kanji we learned today, life. Originally, that was used to indicate blue's reading at the time, and the kanji for a water well was on the bottom instead of moon. Some sources state that both those parts were used to indicate readings, while others suggest that both indicated meaning, with well referencing a type of blue dye pulled from wells, and life indicating the color of young plants. By the way, this kanji is used for colors we call blue and some types of green in English. Now when you hear someone call a green traffic light blue, you won't be so confused, I hope. Anyway, the kanji was eventually simplified to be blue's crown on top of yen, and more recently was further simplified to have a moon on the bottom, though I'm not sure if that is any simpler than yen. For our story, we'll say, the blue crown reflects a blue light off the moon. Instead of the sun, I guess. This reminds me of that old net anime, Red versus Blue, for some reason. Probably because this next kanji means red. I think they still might be making that anime series now, but it doesn't really matter because the official radical of red
Why is he calling red versus blue an anime?
Which do you prefer, red or blue? Let us know in the comments. Technically, we can break red down into dirt or soil and fire. That bottom part might not look like fire, but technically, when it's connected to the bottom of a kanji and not just floating down below it, it can look like what we have here, for some reason. There are 7 strokes in red. We start with the first 3 strokes in dirt, horizontal, vertical, and longer horizontal line below. Be sure to keep this part in the upper half of the kanji. We then connect what looks like a no stroke to the bottom of dirt.
It kind of looks like the blade.
Next is a stroke that looks like a feathered broomstick part. Make sure to sweep that up at the bottom. We then draw 2 dots, first the one on the left, and then the one on the right. You could be forgiven for wanting to break this down into no, feathered broomstick, and 8, but we're not going to do that here. Historically, this was made from the parts big and fire, making it an ideograph for red, the color of big fires. Of course, big was a pictograph of a person, so these look a lot like a person who was lit on fire.
Oh no.
Which could also indicate red, I suppose. Anyway, this is technically why the parts are not what we indicated, dirt and fire, and red is instead its own radical nowadays. But for memorization purposes, the parts we chose will suffice, I think. For our memorization story, we'll go with the fire beneath the dirt is big and red. I guess hell or something? Please share any stories you made for the kanji in this video.
Why is Ando-san in there?
It might help someone who our stories did not.
Oh, wait, was it like human? Yeah.
Before we go any further, I want to tell you about this kanji, which means before.
Before.
And before you strangle me for punning too much, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps. Occupy your hands so that they don't come after me. The official radical of before is person's legs, which clearly stand out on the bottom of the kanji there. Get it? Stand? I'll show myself out. We can break it down further into a no radical, dirt, and person's legs, though. There are 6 strokes in before.
Yippee.
Before moving on to the official radical of person's legs, my power knows no bounds. Anyway, before moving on to the official radical of person's legs, we first draw the no stroke and immediately connect it to the first horizontal stroke in dirt. It's then vertical and longer horizontal stroke. Finally, we connect the person's legs beneath the dirt. The historical version of this kanji started out looking like a dancing Groot-like image. It then turns into a weird creature with squiggly legs and straight arms, or a squiggly-legged person balancing a trident on their head. Then they jumped shark during the Ming Dynasty with a maze or something. In reality, this was a combination of the kanji for foot on top and person on the bottom. The meaning was derived from the fact that the front of the foot, i.e. toes, are considered the front point of a person, which is another meaning for this kanji. Front, not toes. For our memorization story, we'll say, No stands by the grave in the dirt for sexy legs, thinking about the times before. Like, just before. They buried those legs quickly. Often this kanji is used for just before, so I wanted to mention this. Although it's also used in words like last week and last month, so I guess these legs could have been buried for quite a while. Subscribe so that you're the first to know when we start covering words for each of these kanji, so that what I'm talking about makes a little more sense. On we go. What would be the title of an 80s movie about cliff jumping? Probably Cliff Radical. This radical means cliff. Cliff Radical. You get it. Since this is not really a kanji, but just one of the official radicals, it has no official radical of its own. And it's clearly its only part. There are 2 strokes in cliff radical. We start with the top horizontal stroke, and then sweep down from the left of the cliff, curving out to the left a bit. Historically, this has always been a pictograph of a cliff. So our story will be too. The image of a cliff. Creative, I know. Speaking of cliffs, if you're ever near one, watch out for rolling stones. Rolling stones. This kanji means stone, and its official radical is also stone, though there is a reason we taught cliff before it. Technically, cliff is a part of this kanji, along with mouth. It may work better for some of you, though, to instead use one and a no radical as parts, so that you don't forget that the second stroke in cliff radical is in a bit of a weird spot. We start this kanji off with the first horizontal stroke on top, and then draw the no-like stroke starting just left of center. We then draw the mouth below that whole enclosure. Historically, this was a cliff radical and mouth. The mouth part, though, was apparently a pictograph of a large stone below or rolling down the cliff, which happens to be the story I made for this kanji as well, despite buying the dictionary I found this explanation in after writing the story. Again. I've already given it away, but our story for this one is pictograph of a stone that has come loose from the cliff and rolling down the cliff. Which brings us to the Lesson 19 quiz.
Quiz time.
In this section of the video, I'll show you a flashcard with the English meaning for a kanji. Pause the video when we show each card and try to remember how to write that kanji. Next, write it on your hand with your finger or on a piece of paper. Then press play and see if you were right. The best way to remember kanji you just learned is to search your memory for the story we taught you, or the one you made based on the English word on the flashcard. Our first card is red.
Red was thinking. Champ. It's soil. And then it's fire, which is not written that way. It's written differently. It's like a no, this, and then this, and this. Yeah.
Next.
Blue has the blue crown, which is this, this. And then a moon. Blue moon sways.
Is blue.
Yeah.
Just a few more. Here's
life is soil, but it's written differently. Like this. Life. Does it have? No, it's what was on it? There's a no somewhere in there. I forget.
life.
Oh, it is a no. Yeah.
And then there's before.
Before is. I'm blanking on this. It's with the legs, right? I think it's literally the same thing. Like,
Finally,
oh no.
we have stone.
And then stone is just the cliff and the stone rolling down it. Just a mouth.
Let us know how many you got right down in the comments.
Chat, I think I'm gonna
Red
go
versus
in
blue.
stream.
Life before the stones. I can just imagine the Halo characters singing.
I'm gonna in stream.
I
I'm
can't
tired.
get no satisfaction. Don't mind me.
I'll probably watch the rest of these off stream. Like 20, 21, 22, 23. Like an hour long. And then maybe next time we'll start with the how to read, or I might just do a different thing. Hopefully I can remember all these. But now my brain is like getting fried. I'm tired and I'm just not remembering the stories like I used to. It wasn't that bad though. We did what? Well, we did like what, 5 of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We did 6 of them. We got 4 more left. Nah, I got it in stream. My brain is too fried. I'll probably do off stream later, chat. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. I do appreciate it. I know it was a short stream, a little, not even 2-hour long stream. Can you believe this? What's happened to Famcha? Where's the real Famcha? I will be back on Friday though. Friday. Bye bye, chat. Love you. I'm gonna watch CC Immergreen. She's doing a Japanese learning stream, so I'm definitely gonna watch that. Bye bye, chat. Like an hour from now. Bye bye. Ill Kanji, what the heck? We love kanji in this household. But you missed me. I'm ending my stream. I'm too tired. I can't even think. My brain is not comprehending. Hiragana and katakana tops. Yeah. I do like how hiragana and katakana look. And there's only so many of them. There's only like 26 of each. Plus like the little like Dakuten and the other thing. I forgot what it was called. My brain is dead. I'm killed. Bye Sky. Bye bye everyone. I'll be back on Friday. Kanji is so stupid and it's the thing I hate most in life. No. I think some kanji look really cool and they have like meaning behind them. But I think I feel like we could probably live in a world without kanji and Japanese would be so much easier to learn. And I think more people will learn it if there wasn't kanji involved. But you got to do your kanji study. It's important. It's not going away. Hopefully, or supposedly, it's not going away. You got to do your kanji learning. It's important. All right. Bye, chat. I love you. Like I said, I'll be back Friday. Bye bye.